Hello and welcome back to the Let Me Add to That podcast. My name is Elizabeth Graswich, Executive Director of Public Affairs and Communications at the Los Angeles County Office of Education. We are the largest regional education agency in the United States. We serve 80 school districts and nearly 2 million children. We are excited to use this platform to take a deep dive into the conversations surrounding our students and schools in LA County. This month, we are excited to be talking about the power of inclusivity and some of our special education programs here in LA County. I'm excited that joining us today, we have Dr. Jovan Jacobs, who is our Director of Special Education here at LACOE and is very much leading the work for us. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
And we also have Gabby Shapiro, and Gabby is a third-year student at UCLA's Pathways Program, an inclusive college program that is supporting students with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Gabby, you're going to start with sharing a little bit about yourself and your story.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm very excited. My name is Gabby Shapiro. I am 23 years old, and I am the youngest of 3 girls. I grew up in the Bay Area, and I like to stay active. I went to high school, and it was the only high school that I attended with both of my sisters because we all went to separate middle schools and separate elementary schools. I followed in their footsteps. They were both on cheerleading and they were both in leadership, and I did that. I did cheerleading for 3 years and I did leadership for 3 years. During the winters, I like to go skiing with my family in Lake Tahoe, and then in the summers, I like to go jet skiing. And I'm currently attending the UCLA Pathway Program. This program is a 2 or 3 year program, offers educational, social, and vocal experience for the neurodiversity. While in the program, I have learned to become a better advocate with myself, skills for living on my own, which I have improved on my cooking skills and learning to host events. Although this is a 2 year program, I have been given the opportunity to complete a 3rd year to achieve a certificate in the early childhood development through UCLA Extension.
We are so excited that you are here and joining us today. Thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself. Dr. Jacobs, can you help set the stage a little bit for our audience around, what the California Center for Inclusive College is and why it's so important now in California?
Well, so we're really excited about, the dedication that our state is pushing towards inclusivity. So we had the State Budget Act of 2024, which is Assembly Bill 447, that really established the California Center for Inclusive College. We call it CCIC. And it's really to provide technical assistance to our existing programs, but really with the scope of providing much more opportunities for our students. Currently, there's about 300 to 350 seats for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities in the higher ed space, and that's the UCs and CSUs. And so really there's the drive with our legislators and the governors to really provide these opportunities. We want them to fully participate in academic courses, really have a full college experience with the idea of having employment opportunities and experience. So really looking at that scope of, we know many individuals in the job market, but if you look at the lens of students with disabilities, especially those with intellectual and developmental disabilities, they have such a lower percent of getting employment opportunities. So really expanding that space and really providing that inclusivity that not only benefits, Gabby, but also all students, just understanding the diversity that exists within our experiences, within college, getting to know different cultures, and really from, getting that experience from, as Gabby will talk about, from the preschool all the way to finishing high school, now to these programs. So that was just the really important drive of really providing those opportunities and seeing how students can strive in our current landscape.
And there's already 22 of these programs, and, it's evolving and growing. And what I think is so interesting is, what does that say about how we are thinking differently about higher education?
And, we're really looking at higher education, as that place for everybody to experience and provide those opportunities. As Gabby will continue on and talking, what that experience meant to her, living on campus, going to academic programs, to having internships, to not only her experiences, but everybody else's. So what the others are learning from, supporting and mentoring, having all types of students in their classrooms, just those experiences. We've talked to many of our inclusive programs. So part of our first year with this grant that we are co-led with Sacramento County Office of Ed is we got to go around the state, talk to our programs, walk the campuses, talk to Gabby. That's how I met Gabby when I visited UCLA a couple months ago.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember from, it was May or March of last year or April, and a bunch of people from local colleges and from Jovan's company came to UCLA, and we spoke a little bit about our program and what we do.
And we got to visit her in her classroom.
Cool.
Yeah.
And they showed us their living quarters, their apartments, and invited us in to really have a snapshot of their daily experiences, what it means to them. Also talking about the students that also support them, what that means to them, having these opportunities as they go on in their careers and say, yes, I have worked with a diverse population of people, and yes, I can support them. Even if they go into becoming a doctor, I know how to address certain concerns, to some going into teaching, nursing, dentistry. So it's just really exciting to see how that works. We were just at San Marcos State, and a lot of them are going into criminology, and a lot of them are mentors, and they're like, this is going to really help me when I need to address concerns in public in my chosen career, that I know how to approach certain situations.
That's so interesting. Gabby, I'm sure our audience would love to hear, what does it look like for you and what day-to-day at UCLA?
Of course, I would love to say. As a Pathway participant, I am still considered a UCLA student with a lot of benefits of being a UCLA student. I attend classes, all of those special classes, just like any other UCLA student. My week starts with Level Lab on Mondays, where we talk about weekly events and we talk about a certain topic each week, which is very engaging. My teacher, Michael Harley, really engages not just one person, but he engages the whole class. He doesn't just call on one specific person. He says he wants all the classes feedback. So I find that really awesome. And then on Mondays and Thursdays, I have my autism office, and that is my paid internship. And there I do flyers, I do shredding, I figure out mail, I try to find where the mail belongs, and they give me flyers to put out all around the building, and then it's really awesome. And then as my second internship, this is volunteer, I work at a preschool in Westwood, and I do that on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I like to push kids on the swings. I do the laundry in the mornings, I wash the dishes, and I help kids put down for a nap. This quarter, I have also joined a club called Unified and Special O, and it's also about kids who have neurodiversity who play basketball, and then there's other UCLA students that help the kids who have neurodiversity, which I find it very awesome and very inclusive, and everybody is just so welcoming and is so inclusive with each other. And I just joined this quarter, and I've made already a lot of new friends from being in this club, which I really like.
I wanted to go back and highlight your internship with your internship with the preschool program.
Yes.
Tell us about, how is that helping your future plans?
Oh, absolutely. So starting in March, I'm going to be applying to preschools in the Bay Area as a preschool assistant teacher. So that's helping me get the experience when I do graduate in June. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna help me find jobs, because it's already going to be in my resume that I had this job as an internship. So I hope it helps me find a good preschool assistant job in the Bay Area where I'm from. Thank you.
And that's so important with the space of, as myself running of, being an associate SUP and executive directors of programs for students with disabilities, the importance of the need of paraprofessionals, instructional aid, classroom aides, and preschool, such the foundation of providing our opportunities for learning for all students. So I'm really excited to see that you're giving back and going into the it makes me happy, the education system. So
yeah, that's so cool.
I have a lot of experience working at different daycares, different summer camps. So I'm excited to see where this takes me.
Yeah, and the little ones are so cute and fun to work with.
They're very cute, yes.
Just joyful. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Dr. Jacobs, so there are 3 different types of different locations of the programs here in LA. We have them at CSU Northridge, CSU Long Beach, and UCLA, and they're different. So why is it important that there are different types of programs?
So it's just like all of us that want to go to college. You look at, different majors. You look at, of course, it's important too. Location matters. Some people want to be closer to the beach. Some people want to be in Westwood, or some want to be in Northridge, a little further away. So there's different majors, the different types of programs. They really customize to the needs of the students, and it's also where they're at. UCLA is one of the oldest programs. They're over 20 years old, while Long Beach is in its 6 years, and they have their population of enrollment is it's about 10 to 20. They have about, UCLA I believe has anywhere between 35 to 45 on a given year. So it's just that UCLA is unique that they actually have housing. It's off campus, but it's close enough where the majority of the building are all college students. The other 2 are working towards that of having, so CSUN and also CSU Long Beach are looking for that opportunity to provide that on-campus living, as many students want that active life and activities that you get to do. Yeah. Football games.
Going off of what she said about housing, I really like not just living with people and young adults with my program. I like living with other college students, so I'm very happy that I get to not just experience with being with people in my program in the apartments, but meeting some other college students and finding out about their experience and what year they're in and how UCLA has been for them.
That's one of the best things about college, right?
Yes,
all the different
absolutely.
people you get to meet and the relationships you build.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Gabby, when you think about how this program is preparing you for your future, your transition into adulthood and on to independence and the future, what do you think?
As I mentioned before, this program has allowed me to learn life skills to be able to live on my own. Being in this program has allowed me to learn to work through my disability without having fear to be discriminated against or feeling bad that I'm not understanding as a student. As I mentioned before in the previous question, in March, I will be starting to apply to preschool assistant jobs in the Bay Area. I hope to get my license before this year ends. I also have a huge passion for theater, and I belong to a theater company in the Bay Area called Piper Players. So I'm excited to start performing with them again in the fall, hopefully, on stage. And I hope to help out with some of the younger classes, I think K through 8th or K through high school, in those classes that they have to offer.
We have a big audience of teachers, Gabby. And so when you think about, your teachers, what is one thing you would want teachers to know about students like you?
Teachers need to concentrate on our strengths and who we are and not our abilities. And all the students are unique and they have some strengths and then they have some areas that they need to work on and some help on. So, yeah.
That's great. Dr. Jacobs, what would you want to tell educators about how they can be more supportive of helping students transition into college?
When you think about, you're going through our preschool through, 12th grade, and for students with disabilities, their transition program up to 22, really providing those opportunities, really, raising the rigor, really pushing them. They will rise to the occasion. I mean, going around and getting to meet, in looking back at my career, where students start from, but where they can end up. And as long as you keep doing that, there is a West Ed report that was done in 2021 that said 10% more of time in Gen Ed will increase the students' performance on the CAST 13.5%. Wow. Just that inviting them in. We're not even looking at true belonging to the classroom, but just being part of, first instruction. They had peer models to go through, and, first instruction. Special ed teachers were wonderful, but really, we're there to provide support and access and, working with Universal Design for Learning, but really having them be part of the fabric of our schools and of our classrooms really shows that you really push them, there are opportunities and they will gain employment and they can graduate, especially now in California, we have the alternate pathway to diploma. So we're really looking at students that, traditionally were put on certificate of completion pathways are now getting diplomas, and really helps with their, post-secondary outcomes, with employment opportunities like our inclusive colleges, our community colleges, our great landscapes that are providing programs also of that inclusivity. So just really pushing that button and really allowing them to flourish in our classrooms.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I'm so glad you have that statistic because it's so powerful in an argument for inclusivity, right? Gabby, when we were talking about teachers specifically, but let's ask you to zoom out. And if there is one thing you think education in general could do better for students with disabilities, what would that be?
Focus on each of our strengths individually. We are not a typical class standard where teaching will work for us. We all learn different. The teachers need to get to know us, individuals, to understand our strengths, weaknesses, how we learn. One of us could be learn going through readings, another could learn going through lectures, and the last one could be going through reputation. So, yeah.
I wanted you to highlight, we talked about one of your experiences when you didn't feel included in high school.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, talk about that.
So I was one of the cheer managers in high school, and I felt like I was kind of excluded in the group because they could perform in half times and I could just sit on the sidelines and I couldn't really perform because they didn't think I was able to, and they didn't think I was capable of doing it. But at the end of the day, I felt like cheerleading was one of the most amazing things about high school experience because I got to be with the cheerleaders in the field, on the sideline, and it was awesome. And people would come up to me and they would be like, "You did a good job there. You're doing a really good job with the cheerleaders." And they were acknowledging me that I was there and that I was doing a good job, which I like.
Absolutely. And really, we should encourage other students to apply for these opportunities. And they can also be cheerleaders and many other things in schools.
Absolutely. So I was the manager for 3 years. I remember just trying out and not being able to pick up the choreography. So I was kind of nervous that I didn't think that I would be able to make cheer, but I got onto the manager position. So at the end of the day, it all worked out, and I was very happy.
That's awesome. Before we close, Dr. Jovan, you lead our special education team here at LACOE. Talk to us about what's in the future. What is your team excited about this year?
There's so much, synergy that's going around in California with we're still behind the word, inclusivity, DEI. We're still using those, diversity, equity, inclusion. Those are important, tenures to our state, to our superintendent. So we're really proud that we're in a supportive space. And so we're going to continue to do all of that. We're excited that next year, California was chosen for the State of the Art Conference, which is a very unique conference where it has both educators, researchers, and also students that are inclusive programs have a yearly conference. They chose California. They're typically on the East Coast. They chose California as, all the excitement that's going down. That, we put it at California Center for Inclusive College. We got 6 TIPSID grants, federal grants, which we were concerned that there may not be funding this year. There was funding. California got 6 of those. So there's a lot of excitement around that. So that's excitement. That goes along with all the work that we're doing, particularly back, we focus in and on this county. So, we started out with Coalition for Access, which is a county-wide initiative that we're highlighting all the work that we're doing in the preschool through 12th grade space in our county and highlighting programs, districts that are really moving the needle on inclusivity. So we're really looking at that. In our great state, in LA County, it's 59% of all students are inclusive, 80% or more of the day. We should be at 70%. In LA County, we're lower than even the state average.
Wow.
So just looking at that, what can we do? So we really want to highlight that work, which goes along with, I oversee 4 statewide grants. So we have the Cal Bloom, the IEP grant, which really is looking at inclusivity in the preschool space and providing those coaching opportunities for teachers to allow students with all abilities to be taught together in a space. And then they do a lot of professional development with that. Then we have the Embraceabilities grant, which really focuses on the extensive support needs students. So those were students that we typically before referred to as moderate to severe students. So they're now extensive support needs. And that's statewide. We focus on the counties and students that are supported through county programs that are extended support needs, and also the work of LEAs in that space about how do we support those students and provide more opportunities for inclusivity. And then we talked a lot about CCIC, California Center for Inclusive College, and that work in that space that I think has really elevated the work about what does inclusion mean and where can it end up. And, seeing students graduate, go through our, K-12 system, and then see the possibilities after in all of the various spaces.
There's just so much work but really great work that's going on. Excited to hear about it. Thank you again, Gabby, for sharing your story. And we know you have a special shout out you want to give.
I want to shout out my staff that has worked with me the past 3 years, helped me learn and grow throughout this program. I want to thank Jessica, Michael, and Shannon for making this program possible for all of the Pathway students. I want to shout out my family and friends for all their support the past 3 years, being there every step of the way. I want to shout out Ben and Liam for not only being the walkers buddies, but also being down at the very last minute to go down like an outdoor adventure, whether it's ice cream or Chick-fil-A. You're always down to go out and go have fun. Special shout out to my roommates, Mia T, and Kate for being the best roommates. Yeah.
Gabby, I want to thank you for coming down and joining us. You were an absolute delight to have on the show, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me. I was very excited to share my pathway experience plus my high school experience as well.
And I'm excited to see where you go in your future.
Thank you so much.
And Dr. Jacobs, thank you too for joining us. You can hear the passion about your work in your voice when you talk about it, and we're just so lucky to have you here at LACOE. So we want to thank everyone for listening, and if you want further information about our Division of Special Education, please visit www.lacoe.edu. Thank you.
Please follow the Los Angeles County Office of Education on Instagram and YouTube at Los Angeles COE. That's Los Angeles COE. Or you can find us on Facebook and LinkedIn at Los Angeles County Office of Education.